Eric Kripke created The Boys. He's the showrunner, the head writer, the guy who built Homelander from scratch. You know what he said about season 5? He said they wrote this season before the 2024 election. They wanted to write a 1984 version of what creeping authoritarianism looks like in America. And then he said something that should make every one of us uncomfortable. He said certain plot points they wrote as fiction have already happened in real life. Think about that for a second. The writer's room thought they were going too far. They thought they were exaggerating. They were sitting in that room trying to write something extreme enough to make a point, and real life beat them to it. And yet here we are. So today we're not asking whether Homelander reminds you of someone. We're asking something harder. Who exactly is following whom? Here's where most people get this wrong. They look at Homelander and Trump and say, oh, they're similar. Same energy, same flag waving, same crowd. And they stop there like they've made some big discovery. That's the shallow version. The deeper version is about structure. Not style, structure. Because style can be copied by anyone. A haircut, a podium, a catchphrase. That's costume. What we're looking at today is the machine underneath the costume. The actual architecture of how power gets built, protected, and weaponized. Both men built their power the same way. Not through institutions. Around them. Homelander doesn't work through Vaught's chain of command. He works around it, above it, until the chain of command just bends toward him. He doesn't ask for authority. He creates a situation where authority has no choice but to follow him or get out of the way. Trump didn't work through the Republican Party. He walked in, grabbed it by the collar, and turned it into something that answers to one person. Career politicians who spent 30 years building their reputation found themselves in a situation where they either fell in line or became irrelevant overnight. The institution doesn't control them. They control the institution. That's not a coincidence. That's a playbook. And before we go further, if you're new here, this is what we do. We pull back the curtain on power and show you exactly how it operates. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Now, let's get back into it. Watch a Homelander rally scene. Really watch it. He's not speaking to the crowd. He's feeding off them. There's a real difference between those two things. A speaker tries to convince you of something. What Homelander does is find out what the crowd already believes and hand it back to them wrapped in a flag. He reads the room, figures out what they're angry about, what they're afraid of, and then he becomes the living answer to all of it. They don't need convincing. They need permission. Permission to be angry. Permission to call it patriotism. Permission to point at someone else and say, that's the problem right there. Now go watch a Trump rally. Any of them. Pick one at random. The rhythm is identical. It's not the words, it's the transaction. The crowd gives energy. The speaker absorbs it, reflects it back louder. The crowd gives more. Round and round. By the end, nobody in that room remembers exactly what was said. They just remember how it felt. And that feeling is the whole point. Kripke's writers thought that was too extreme for television. The cameras were already rolling in real life. Now here's where it gets specific. Homelander does not want competence. He wants loyalty. There's a real difference between those two things. A competent person will tell you when you're wrong. A loyal person will tell you whatever keeps them in the room. Watch what happens in The Boys when someone challenges him, even gently, even respectfully. They don't get a debate, they get a consequence. Because the challenge itself is the offense. It doesn't matter if they're right. Now audit the Trump cabinet. Not just this one, any of them. Count how many people walked in as respected professionals with decades of experience behind them. Generals, economists, career diplomats, people who built entire careers being the smartest person in the room. Then count how many left quietly, some of them suddenly, replaced by people whose primary qualification was that they would not push back. Not that they were the best person for the job, just that they would not push back. Competence gets you in the door. Loyalty keeps you there. And the moment those two things come into conflict, loyalty wins every time. Both of them built the same cabinet, just different costumes. Now here's the part nobody is talking about. Sister Sage is the smartest person on the planet, canonically. In the world of the boys, there is no one sharper, no one with a better read on power and how it moves. And Homelander recruited her, not because he respects her intelligence, because he needs it. There's a difference. He needs her brain the same way a king needs a map maker. The map maker doesn't rule anything. They just make sure the king doesn't get lost. The moment the king knows the territory well enough, the map maker becomes a liability. Sage is brilliant, black, and completely disposable the moment she stops being useful. Now look around any real boardroom, any cabinet, any executive floor. Find the black woman who is clearly the most capable person in the room and ask yourself one honest question. Is she being heard or is she being used? Some people say a black woman is a white man's kryptonite. Look at that thumbnail and tell me they're wrong. That is not a fictional problem. That is a Tuesday. The boys didn't invent that dynamic. They just had the nerve to put it on screen and call it what it is. And now that you've seen it in the show, you can't unsee it in real life. That's the whole point. Sister Sage is the audit, right there in the show, hidden in plain sight. Here's what I want you to sit with before you close this video. Eric Kripke wrote a villain so extreme, his own writers thought they were going too far. And then real life said, "Hold my beer." That's not art predicting the future. That's art paying close enough attention to the present that the future was never really a surprise. The writers weren't prophets. They were just paying attention when a lot of us weren't. This isn't about telling you what to think. It's about showing you what to look at. Homelander was always real. So was Sister Sage's situation. The only question is whether you were watching closely enough to see it. Which moment in Season 5 felt less like fiction and more like the evening news? Drop it in the comments. I want to know exactly which scene broke the glass for you. And if this video made you think, share it with someone who needs to see it. Hit subscribe. There's a lot more coming.